Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn triangulation. Triangulation is the art of losing a move. In this position it is white to move. But let's assume that if it was black to move, then what would have happened? If it was black to move, then black's king can only go to the 8th rank, and then our king will come to b6 and capture the pawn. With two passed pawns, it will be super easy to win the game. The problem is black's king is covering the b6 square, so we cannot play king to b6. We need to find a way to lose a move so that it becomes black to move in this position and black has to go back, then we can go king to b6. So how do we lose a move? Let's play king to d5. What black is going to do? Black has three choices: king b8, king c8 or king to d8. If black plays king to d8, then we play king to d6. After king to c8, we push the pawn to c7 and then we play king to d7 and make a queen. So this variation wins for white. King can also try to go to b8. But again we can come to d6. Our idea is to come to d7 and then simply make a queen. Black plays king c8 and again this is winning. So here black has only one option. Black's option is to go to c8, and the idea is if white plays king to d6, then black will play king to d8 and take the opposition. If white plays pawn to c7 check, after king c8, king c6, it's a draw. Let's go back. Once black has played king to c8, now we play king to c4. Taking the distant opposition, there is a difference of 3 squares between the two kings, and this is known as the distant opposition. If black plays king to c7, then white will play king to c5. White has completed the triangulation. In this position it is black to move. Black will go back and then white can play king to b6, capture the pawn and win the game. Let's go back. After king to c4, black is not going to play king to c7. Black will play king to d8. And now you can play king to d4, maintaining the opposition. Again, black cannot play king to c7 because white will play king to c5 and white has the opposition. So black plays king to c8. Then you play king to d5. And now the point is, black cannot play king to d7 because pawn is covering this square. Now black has three choices: king b8, king c7 or king to d8. After king to d8, we can play king to d6, king c8, pawn c7, and you know that it is winning for white. So black is not going to play king d8. Black can play king b8, but this is also losing. After king d6, we can just push the pawn and simply make a queen. That's why in this position black has to play king to c7. And now we can play king to c5, completing our triangulation. And in this position it is black to move. Black has to go back to one of these squares. Now white can go to b6 and capture the pawn. When you are 2 pawns up, it is easy to win the game. Black goes king c8, you can push your pawns forward and the situation is completely winning. You don't want to push these pawns right now because it will be a stalemate. So you can play king to c7. Just let black capture this pawn because you have this pawn to make a queen and win the game. Let's look at the next example of triangulation. In this position we are white and it is white to move. Let's assume that in this case it is black to move. If it was black to move, then black has to play king to b6 or king to d6. That will allow us to play king to c4, winning a pawn. So in this position white wants to lose a move. We can do triangulation. We can play moves like king to c2, king to d2 and then come back king to c3. Let's start with king to c2. Black has king b4, king d4, king d6 or king b6. Actually, black cannot come on the 4th rank. If black plays a move like king to b4, then you can simply push this pawn forward. And black cannot catch this pawn. So basically, we win the game. Now these two possibilities have been ruled out. Black king cannot come on the 4th rank because our d5 pawn will go forward and become the queen. So black has to go back. Let's say black goes back to d6. Or black can also go back to b6, it does not matter. Now we play king to d2. If black goes backward, then we can easily come to c3 and capture the pawn. So black will play king to c5. Now we go king to c3, completing our triangulation. Now black does not have a choice but to go back. Black will go back and we capture this pawn. With the extra pawn, this position is easy to win. When black plays a move like king to c7, you can go there, capture the pawns, and with 2 pawns, you will win the game. Now let's look at the next example. In this position, it is white to move. White cannot go forward because all these squares are covered by the black's king. Let's assume that in this position, it is black to move. If it was black to move, then black can play king to e7 or black king can go back. If black king goes back, then you can simply go forward with your king. And if black plays king to e7, then you can play pawn to c6. After b cross c6, you can play king cross c6 and simply make a queen. So it is good for us if in this position it is black to move. How do we make this happen? We use triangulation to lose a move. We play king to e5. Black can play king to e7 or black can also play king to c6. If black plays king to e7, then we push the pawn, sacrifice a pawn. Black captures this pawn, we push the pawn, and in the next move we are going to make a queen. So, black cannot play king to e7. Black has to stay near these pawns. So, black plays king to c6. Now we just come back, king to d4. Now black has 2 options. Black can go king to d7 or black can play king b5. Let's look at king b5 first. Now we play king to d5, taking the opposition. Black goes king a6, we go forward. Black plays king to b5 and now we can go king to c7. If black captures this pawn, then we capture black's pawn and make a queen. So black plays king to a6. Now we play pawn to c6. After b cross c6, we push the pawn to b7 and make a queen. That's why in this position black played king to d7. And now we can play king to d7, completing our triangulation. Black cannot play a move like king to e7 because of pawn to c6. And now we can simply promote this pawn to the queen. And there is nothing black can do. We win the game. That's why black king will go back. Now we play king to d6. Again black has 2 choices. Black can play king to d8 or black can play king to b8. After king to d8, we can push the pawn. Black captures the pawn, we push the pawn. And now in the next move we are going to make a queen. That's why black played king to b8 in this position. Now we go forward, king to a8, and now we play pawn to c6. Black captures the pawn and we don't capture it. We play king to c7. Black pushes the pawn, we play b7 check. After king a7, we make a queen and win the game. Let's go to the next example. In this position we are white. We would like to push our pawns and make a queen. But the problem is, if we push the g5 pawn, black will capture our f5 pawn. And if we push the f5 pawn, black will simply capture this pawn. Let's assume in this position it is black to move. And if it is black to move, then black has to play king to d5, allowing us to play pawn to f6. Then when king goes to e6, we can play pawn to g5 and support the pawn. But the problem is it is white to move. So how do we lose a move? we use triangulation to lose a move. We play these kind of moves. First we start with king to e2. Now black's king cannot play king to d5 because if black plays king d5 then we simply push the pawn. King to e6, we push the pawn. And black's king cannot come down to capture our pawns because now we can push the pawn and make a queen. That's why after king to e2, black has to play king to f6. Now we don't play king d3 immediately because then black will play king to e5 and we will get the same position. First we play king to d2. And now what is black going to do? Black can play king e5 or black can play king g5. If black plays king to g5, now the king is too far away from the d4 pawn. King cannot defend this pawn. So we play king to d3. And now black's king cannot capture our pawn because then our f pawn will go forward and become a queen. King g4, f6, f7 and we make a queen. That's why in this position black has to play king e5, guarding this pawn. And now we play king to d3. We have completed our triangulation. Now in the same position it is black to move. And now black cannot play king f6 because we simply capture the pawn. So black has to play king d5. And now we push our pawns forward. Black will play king e6. Then we play pawn to g5. Black goes back king f7 and we capture the pawn. We have two extra pawns and we can easily win the game. King to g6, king to e5. Black cannot capture our pawn because then after f7 we make a queen. So black goes back. We play king to f5, king f8, king e6. And now we can push these pawns. King f8. We can simply play pawn f7, king g7. We bring our king forward to cover the queening square. And after king cross g6, we make a queen and win the game. I hope the concept of triangulation is clear to you. See you in the next video.